So a couple weeks ago, we were watching something, and as usual, I was going through my phone trying to find the last remnants of hope in 2023 of horror movies we might have missed. And it's funny because I'm watching these lists that people are putting out, like bigger channels, like Drum Dums, like I always mention on the channel, Lee's channel. And he made like a two top tens. That's funny. He made like two top 10 horror movies of 2023.
Uh-huh.
And then in one of the videos, so he made a top 20 effectively,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You know how many movies he'd seen this year? Like out of horror?
How many?
After making a top 20?
How many?
35. 35.
Oh my god.
I was like, so you left 15 movies off? You could just make one more list and you basically, that's like every movie you watched this year.
That's crazy.
So here we are,
I've
watched 163 horror movies in 2023. You've watched
I've watched
little less
because he's watched several without me now.
She's watched probably 150. I've only watched maybe 13 to 15 without you.
I know.
Maybe 20.
Probably closer to 20.
Yeah. So, but you've still watched like over 140. That's not us saying that we're better.
No.
We are. We 100% are better than
you. It's very funny because I feel like we've seen a lot of horror this year. So our list, but it's everyone's personal taste too.
So I was looking through stuff, trying to find another one, and I came upon Raging Grace. And I don't know how I found it. Somebody had it on their list or something. And I was like, what the hell is this? And on IMDb at that time, it was like a few days ago, a week ago, it had like a 7.1. It has like a 6.9 or something now. But it also had a Metascore of like an 80 something, and RogerEbert.com gave it a 100.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
And then I saw it was getting a VOD release. It now is out. And I was like, well, we got to watch this one with the rating as high as it is. We literally had no idea what this movie was about.
None.
And we pressed play. So this movie is about a Filipino immigrant who is trying to, get citizenship. She is in Britain, right? She's in...
Yes. I'm pretty sure they all have like British accents, so I'm gonna say.
I'm pretty sure
she's not in America for sure.
No,
she's
100%.
In, like England.
Yeah, she's somewhere
in England.
Yeah. So anyway, so she's there, and she's taking these odd jobs, and she has a young daughter named Grace, who's raging. No, and she is not supposed to have her, and sneaks her around to different locations. And then she comes across this cushy gig, taking care of an elderly man who is on his deathbed and is basically in a coma. And of course, things look too good to be true, usually are. And things kind of spiral out of control. So while this, as far as horror goes, I would call this more of a thriller for sure, but it almost, what movie it kind of reminded me of would be The Skeleton Key.
Oh yeah, I could see that. It's been a while since I've watched that film, but I remember the basics of
That's not a spoiler because the endings are wildly different, so, at first I thought maybe this is where that was heading.
Yeah.
Right, but that's definitely not what's going on here. As far as the quality of the film, I think it's a very good movie. And I did quite enjoy it. I'm not 100. We literally just finished it. I'm not 100% where I land on this. I do think it's a very good movie, though.
I do too.
I'd like to hear your thoughts while I kind of ruminate on it for a minute and listen to what you think.
I mean, overall, I enjoyed the film a good amount. I think that like the standout for me was the mother and her daughter. Like I was really invested in their relationship, and I think that that's set up really well in the film. And there's a lot of moments that you're just like very tense and nervous about, and like you don't want her to get in trouble, and like all these different things. And it's like she's a mom doing whatever she can to like give her daughter a better life. so I was really into everything with them. And then I do think that it falls more on the thriller side. There is like a sequence towards the end of the film that is like a horror kind of sequence, but the most of the film is like mystery and
Yeah.
like you're kind of trying to figure out what's happening for real. Um so yeah, I mean overall I liked it. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's like a favorite of mine from this year or anything.
No.
Like it didn't land that high with me, but I think that it's really well acted. I really liked the performances from everybody. Even like there's a couple characters that are very unlikable, and I think that they did a great job too. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of like my main like thoughts on it, I guess.
Yeah, and of course, this is the year of the mother,
Yes,
and so we are
always.
focusing heavily on mothers in this film. I think the film has a good amount to say in it.
Yeah.
So the film is not without depth.
Hmm.
I do think that there's a good amount being said here about, you know, servants in
Mm-hmm.
a house and how they're valued or not valued.
Yeah.
About immigration, about rape, about lots of
Wealth
different things. About wealth.
and wealthy people.
Um, so I think it handles all those um, topics fairly well. Of course, it can't get to the heart of all of them, but I think it does a good job of talking about those things. I yeah, I mean, I don't know what I expect. You know what I think it is. I expected it to be more horror,
Hmm.
which is not the film's fault at all, and also the title had me very focused on like what was going to be happening with Grace
Ah.
and how she was going to be raging. I kept
Yeah.
waiting for like more Grace
Sure.
and
Yeah.
and there to be something going on with Grace. And that just never honestly, I don't get the title at all. I don't
Yeah.
understand the point of the title. It doesn't play into the film that I watched at all.
Yeah. I agree with you there. I actually think the title is kind of misleading in
It's a
a lot of
misnomer.
ways. Yeah. Because most of the film, I mean, we're focused on their relationship, but a lot of it is the mother that we're kind of like she's the main character.
At no point does Grace rage. Like there's
Not
no raging
really
Grace in this movie.
rage.
There's
No.
there's there's times where she's like upset like a kid
Yeah.
because she's like 10, 12, somewhere in that area. I don't understand the
I don't
title. I
know.
really don't get that.
It kind of feels just like it's um a pun on like Amazing Grace,
Saving Grace
right? Yeah.
would maybe work better,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
Raging Grace. I'm confused on.
But yeah, I mean, I thought of Amazing Grace, like Raging Grace,
I
Amazing
guess
Grace. That's what I thought was like kind of the thing they were going for,
I guess okay.
because they're
You know,
Christian.
I think it's because I think it's because the grace that she's been given
Hmm.
is evil, right?
Hmm.
It's not a true
So
grace.
it's not really about her daughter. It's about the
Correct.
grace
I
of.
think that her daughter. I think the title is purposely misleading because you think that it's going to be about a young girl who's like troubled
Yeah.
and is like a good son or the bad seed or
Hmm.
orphan or something. We're going to have like an evil kid,
Right.
and really it's about the grace that people supposedly give you. Like rich people are like, oh, I'm being so
Yeah. Being
I'm
so
being so
gracious,
gracious
like
and
letting you stay here
right.
and giving you money.
But in reality, it's like it's
But they still view you as a slave,
yes.
essentially, and
So
less than them.
I think that's the title.
I like that interpretation. I think that's probably
It's the only
closer
thing that
to what
makes
it is.
any sense.
Yeah.
It also reminds me of a movie that I showed you maybe about a year ago or so called Bvid, which is a French film.
Mm.
Um, and it's that girl who's like she goes
Oh
in to
yes,
take care
I
of
was
that
thinking about that movie actually.
old
I didn't
person in the
remember what
house,
it
and
was
then they come to
called.
break in
Yeah, yeah,
later,
yeah. I was
and
thinking
there's
about that
someone in
movie.
a glass case,
Yes, Yeah. I was literally thinking about it, but I was like, I don't
There's
remember what that
definitely
movie
some
was called.
similarities
Yeah, for
in
sure.
this
Hmm.
movie, for sure. But that one's way more horror than this
Yes.
one
Yeah,
is.
that one is much more of a horror film, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's a good movie. It's definitely like if you are somebody who likes like heavy mysteries and thrillers
Hmm.
with like a focus on like the experience of immigrants in like a western country and like how they're treated
Yeah.
and all of that. I think that this is something you should definitely check out because like you said at the beginning, there's a lot that the film is saying about a variety of topics in that realm, and I think that they're all very interesting and worth like exploring.
I also just watched the show Maid with Margaret
Mm,
Qualley, where she's, a maid, and she has a young daughter, and she's trying to get away from the life that she previously had, and is kind of taking her daughter everywhere she can with her, and doing things that she shouldn't be doing to try to get by. And this definitely gave me that flavor too, but this is much more. And we've watched a decent amount of these where like the maid in the house. Remember um Nocebo,
yes.
which was
Yeah.
another one of these kinds of movies
Yeah.
where like a foreign immigrant maid came in the
Yeah.
house.
Well,
And
it's just such a like, people that are in those positions, like especially if they're illegal immigrants or even if they're like legal immigrants, like they're in a vulnerable position already in society because they maybe don't speak the language fully or they're learning it,
yeah.
and there's so much like racism within people that even when they pretend like they're not racist, like they are still being racist. Plus there's classism
Oh my
too,
god.
which it's like I always feel so bad about like not that people have to, not that people like are working as maids or whatever. I don't feel bad that people do that, but I feel bad that there's like probably so many people that are being mistreated by their employers
Yeah.
when they don't have like a lot of other options as far as jobs go because maybe they don't have work experience or like again the language barrier and all of that. So it's like it's a viable means for them to make money, but like the working conditions could be terrible. So, yeah. What do you think, Bean?
And what do you think, Bean?
What do you think about all this stuff?
Hmm? Me
She's
think
been coming up into our reviews a lot
a
lately.
lot. She
She
wants to
makes an
be
appearance.
known.
She's like, you know about the dog, but don't forget about me.
Raging Bean.
Raging Bean.
All right, so yeah, Raging Grace, come sit on my face. No,
No.
no, Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. All right, guys.
Bye.